Hello, and welcome to the Heart of Dentistry podcast. We're looking forward to bringing you the tools that will be so helpful in making your career full of heart and fulfillment. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Heart of Dentistry podcast. Jamie Marbo-Nichols and myself, Brandi Hooker-Evans, are so delighted that you are joining us for another nugget of goodness. Jamie, we've got big news today. Tell us what's up.
Yes, we do. I'm so excited for our guest on today's podcast. I love all our guests that we have, but I am blessed to say that she is a friend and a colleague. And this is Katherine Etiel Belt. We've met years ago. A lot of it had to do with me taking her courses right out of the gate as a consultant coach. And of course, she was one of the first names that was suggested to take her Coach the Coach. And I've done her speaking workshops. So I am thrilled, as you are, Brandi, to welcome Katherine Etiel Belt, who is a phenomenon in our industry with Lion Speak and with all of her different hats that she wears in companies that she runs and has created. So, Katherine, thank you for joining us.
Oh, so glad to be with you two superstars. This is so fun. And I love the focus of this podcast that you've put together, the heart, what speaks to the heart of what we do and who we are. So thank you for having me.
Yes, great. And we have discussed a couple of topics that we would like to go over with you. And the first one, I'm going to let you go ahead and just start it out. It's a topic in general that it doesn't just affect us in the workplace, in our professional lives, but it affects us. And I would bet all three of us here, because we're going to have part one and we're going to have part two. Spoiler alert right there. But we've all, I think the three of us particularly can also relate to it in our personal lives. And you brought up something, a situation that actually was me too. So let's go ahead and start with our first one. And that is how our leaders, our office managers, our business owners, whatever you may be in your professional life as leaders, how do we learn the difference between coaching them and supervising them? So I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, great. Well, I think we all, that's the beautiful thing of working on your communication skills is that you don't leave if you get better, you don't leave it at work. It follows you home and it follows you into conversations with neighbors and other people in our industry at conferences, and you take it everywhere you go. So it is a life skill, truly. But we'll specifically talk today in the work context. So back in the industrial age, a few decades ago, supervisory skills were taught, and I think were needed. They were appropriate for the industrial age. There were lots of assembly lines and people on those assembly lines. And if one person made a mistake, certainly a consistent mistake, then all the products were spoiled. It didn't matter what people did downstream. You had to correct the mistake. You had to pull it off the line and get it corrected. And so literally managers would sit up in a tall booth and would watch where the mistakes were happening. So we learned sort of organically to take this approach of scanning our environment. So imagine scanning your dental practice from the morning huddle to the end of the day, but always as a manager or a team lead or an owner, or even someone who's a seasoned professional and you're watching new people that have just joined the team. We're scanning our environment for what is wrong, what is not working, what's not right on the trays, what's not happening in sterilization, what's not right on the schedule, who's late to work. We're scanning for mistakes and errors and places where we would correct. And I contend that we're hanging on to an old, outdated model because the boomers, and I can say this because I'm one, the baby...
They're still on.
Yeah, they're still on too. We responded to supervision. We responded well to it. From millennials on down, they don't respond well to it. So we can hold on to those old models, or we can embrace some new models where people respond more positively, which of course is ultimately what we want. So I would encourage managers, owners, team leads to really consider this idea of coaching your people rather than supervising your people. It's a much more modern approach. So here's how it's different. Instead of scanning your environment for what's wrong, coaches scan their environment for untapped potential. Who has untapped potential? Who's not bringing their A game? Who could we coach up? Who could we coach up into? I mean, I know that I have seen lots of people as a coach who I know there's more inside of them than they can see in themselves. And so my job is to show them there's more inside there. There's more that they can do. There's more they can understand. There's, so a lot of times we say, but I don't have enough time, or I don't have those skills, or lots of people will say to me, it doesn't roll off my tongue like it does for you, Katherine. So of course, what that communicates is I have some gift they don't have. And so my job is to convince them that they've had their ruby slippers on all along and they just haven't looked down to see that. So I would encourage people to consider a new frame to look at when they look at their team and their teammates, to look through the frame of coaching. How can I coach someone? So I think probably that begs the next question: how are the skills different? How do we use some different skills? So the skills for supervising is I point out the bad behavior, I illuminate the right behavior, the right skills, and then I basically tell you do it or don't and face the consequences, right? Mm-hmm. But in coaching, so in other words, there's a lot of telling. I'm going to tell you that was wrong, and I'm going to tell you the right way. Coaching doesn't revolve around telling. Coaching revolves around leading someone to their own right answer, the right answer for us and the right answer for them, leading them there through a series of questions. Because people tend to own the process of change and the outcome, the win, if they've had a hand in creating it. But when someone forces them and says, do it my way or hit the highway, then even if I do it, I'm doing your thing. I'm not doing my thing. And so coaching says, how can I be smart enough on this end of the conversation to lead them with a series of questions so they come to the conclusion I want them to come to, but it feels like their own. It feels like their own, or at least they feel part of the generation of the new idea, the new way, the new process, the new consideration. So I would say there are 3 things I would suggest. There's a lot more to this as both of you.
Interject one thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, let me, I remember this aha moment for me, and I think I've mentioned this to you before when I was in your trainer in San Diego when we were off premise, and I was with Stacy McCulley and Kim and everyone like that. It was a great time. And I remember so vividly you saying, as a coach, how do I not tell them? And I remember thinking, well, how are they ever going to know that what it is they need to know? And I just, because I was really thinking you were meaning like, don't verbally tell them, which you sort of do. But it's like, how do I get them, what you just said, just to reiterate it, how do I get them to come to the conclusion on their own by guiding them in that direction? So then it is more lasting, it is more effective. But I remember that. I was like, that's
a shift.
Oh my God.
It's a new lens to look through. And it's so much more rich, I think. So much more.
It is.
It's a fun game because the minute I see the behavior I want to change, I take it as this fun challenge. How can I be so good that they can't help but come to this conclusion and feel like it was their own? And I'm okay with them feeling like it's theirs because I know they're going to own it, and I know it's going to stick much more longer and much more deeply. So I love that. And I remember when I got it too. I remember. Yeah.
So I have to say that this is my favorite game to play, and it's how I've based my whole clinical care. My goal is to get my patients and the doctor's patients on to diagnose their own gum disease so they're in it. But Katherine, I am one of those leaders in my coach and a leader in my home. And when I try to translate that, getting them to decide in another venue where I haven't had that aha moment, I struggle. I have 2 teenagers at home right now, and I am so good at getting people to diagnose their own periodontal disease and getting other dental professionals to diagnose what's going on in their office and get them to solve their own problem. And my skills are not translating. So if I'm a leader in the office or a leader in my home, and I hear you, I believe you, and I've got this skill somewhere else, what can I do to get it in that other area that it's a brick wall over and over and over?
Well, I've got 3 things. Like I said, a lot more to this, as you both know as professional coaches. We're never really done with the study of that, of how humans respond and how we can help them own it. But I'll give you 3 tips that you can take away right now that'll make you better. So one is, when we notice the disconnect, whatever form that takes, number one, I say to myself, let me care more about their growth than the instant correction of this, right? Because I can tell them, and I can force them in many cases, do it or you're fired, do it or you're grounded, punished or something. So I can force it, or I can care that they wrestle with it a little bit, because it's always in the wrestling of something we grow, right? It's in the struggle through the change that we grow. The second, so I got to care about their growth, and you've got to recognize this conversation as an opportunity for them, and essentially also for you to grow as a coach. But so care about that. Number 2 is get curious. And when I say get curious, what I mean is get curious about what is it around this thing that they care about. So if someone says, look, I want to adopt this, but I do not have enough time to do one more thing in my hygiene visit or in my day in terms of being an administrator. I can't add one more thing. There's no time, right? So something like that. So then I might say, so it feels like to me what I'm hearing is that getting the most important things done in a day for you is super important. Or to maybe to a clinician, I might say, so what I'm hearing is it's very important to you that we run on time, that you run on time, and that you cover the most important things in that time. And if they say yes, then I get curious so in other words, lead with questions. Just keep saying one more question, but it's a leading question. So then I say, so would you be open to a conversation or an exploration around how we could do both? Would you be interested in talking about how we could both run on time and apply these skills or adopt these procedures or accomplish this goal? Would you be open for that conversation? And if they say yes, then I say, do you have any ideas about how we might do that? And if they say, I have none, then I say, okay, would you be open to there's a million ways you could go with that. Would you be open to a couple of my ideas? Would you be, could we look at a hygienist or a clinician that you respect that has already done this successfully, that has already incorporated these skills and still runs on time and feels really good about it and is getting some really good results? Would you be open to the idea of shadowing them to see what is it they're doing that maybe you haven't yet adopted? Would you be open to that? And so now I'm leading them to this bigger world of possibilities that until now they haven't seen it. They just haven't seen the possibility. And when people tell you what they're struggling with, it shows you also what they care about. Whatever they're struggling with is a seed of what they care about. And if we can attach, don't forget this, if we can attach what we want them to do to something, or help them attach something we want them to do to being the way to get something they want for themselves, we've won. We've won before we started.
Yeah.
Because people do things for their own reason. Change is hard. adopting new things is hard. If you ask someone to answer the phone a certain way, the little phrase you're going to have them answer the phone with is not tough. But getting someone to remember it without having to think about it is hard, even though the thing is simple. Do you see what I mean? I mean, like, we all know how, I just heard a quote that said, if information were enough, we'd all be skinny, rich, and, happy.
Unemployed.
Yeah. But
At least for us.
it's not that we don't know what to do. It's
Yeah.
that the change of doing it is such a struggle for all of us, for humans. And so as coaches, we need to remember we're coaching them to something we've already adopted and is super fluid and easy for us. But for them, it is not. And so us coaching them through the process of change is what we want to do. So you can see there's a lot more to it. But I think if you care about their growth and your own as a coach, if you get curious about what is it they care about relative to this subject and how could I help them attach the thing I want them to do as being a mechanism to help get what they want. If I can help them attach those, we're talking a whole new game now. And my third recommendation is lead with questions. Lead with questions. Stop telling, start asking. And when you do that, you will, you will have different conversations and get people to open up to the new.
I love those 3 nuggets, and it makes me think of a brand new hygienist who's very smart that just was hired, and she's brilliant, and she just came onto one of my new teams, and she's just has all these great ideas and thoughts and stuff. She's just one of those great assistants that went into hygiene school. Anyways, she's trying to change so much at once. And the other thing I want to add to that is that I said they don't trust you yet. You're going in there and you're telling them they're doing things wrong, and you've got to earn that trust. And I think asking more questions really is a key to that, Katherine, because it makes them feel like, okay, you see what we do, or you hear me and you want to hear me and you respect me enough to ask these questions about my thoughts versus telling me what we need to change when your feet aren't even warm to our office yet. So I love that.
Yes.
How great to look at it from the reverse. What if you are the new kid on the block, but you do have something to add, and rather than bringing that old supervisor but up delegating, we consider it like this. Oh my goodness, Katherine, what a phenomenal way to put heart back into what we do. Because at the end of the day, if we love our careers and we're making a positive impact for ourselves, our teammates, and our patients, we won't work a day in our life. So thank you for blessing us with such amazing information. I have an entire page of notes that I will be taking to the parts where I haven't been successful at this yet. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to grow. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
And if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, we'll put that down in our notes with the recording, but can you just verbally tell us how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, our website is lionspeak.net, not .com, but .net, Lionspeak, LIONSPEAK. They can shoot an email to info@lionspeak.net. And I would love to offer your readers, and I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes, or they can email us at info@lionspeak.net. But I have an article around coaching tips. And so if they would like that article, I'm happy to share it. Maybe they can bring it to a team meeting and sort of talk about it with their team. Can we all start to coach each other rather than supervise and tell each other all the time? And can we put the radar of where is their untapped potential rather than people doing things wrong? That's a very good lens. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Katherine. And everybody, we're going to have a part 2. So you're going to want to be listening in the future so that you can see what part 2 is all about. Okay. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.